Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Global Industry Spotlight. My name is Daniel Crane, and I am the Program Director of the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. The Center for Creative Entrepreneurship is empowering creatives at all levels, right? So we're building educational resources, networks, and an online platform to support the industry, to help people have success. There's a lot of really interesting and amazing things happening in the creative industries. People building organizations, online digital platforms, and today's guest is building amazing guitar amps. I'm excited. I feel like this is our first actual builder of a physical thing on the Global Industry Spotlight. So it's going to be great to talk to Jack Kay. TextWatt, his company is a unique analog product, hand built from scratch, one at a time, fully customizable with no shortcuts in build, parts, design, or time. The amps incorporate those famous 50s and 60s American and British tube analog circuits, allowing the artist to build the tone stack to suit your personal tastes. I've met Jack a couple times. The sound of their amps is incredible, and it's great to have him in on this conversation. So let's bring him in. Hey, Jack.
Hey, Daniel, good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. It struck me before this conversation how you are the first kind of builder of a physical product. It's an interesting thing where a lot of the things that people are building that I talk to are some kind of digital technology or thing online, and it's great to talk to an actual inventor and builder of a physical amp. So so Jack, if you could just give us a little background about you, and how you got to start TextWatt.
Probably, Daniel. This goes all the way back as a kid playing in bands in high school. And where it probably really hit me is I was in a touring band and we were crisscrossing the U.S. and I played on Marshalls and they would blow up. And you got to put yourself back in 1970, and we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have, we didn't have pagers back then. So when something blew up, I'd keep 3 or 4 Marshalls in the truck. And like most musicians, you got bills to pay. And I needed to play that next gig the next day. So when something blew up, we'd be traveling from one town to another. And it would be let's dig something out of the truck. And you'd take the broken amp apart and look for parts that were blown and see if one of the carcasses in the truck had the same part. I could steal from one, put in another one, out of necessity, so I could play the gig the next day and make a living. And you fast forward, actually during that time when we take the amps apart, you'd find things in them like, a 100-watt Marshall wasn't cheap, and things would blow up, and when you get in them, you'd say, this doesn't really have the quality of parts or stuff. And so, by golly, someday I'm going to build an amp that's made for musicians and it won't blow up and it'll do all this good stuff. And you fast forward about 30 years after coming off the road, I did nothing with the idea. Then 30 years later, I decided I'm going to build it. And so now what am I going to build? And am I going to make a British or an American? I know I want to make it out of quality parts, and I know I want to make it do all these things that I wished I would have had for an amp in the 70s. So how am I going to construct this? And instead of doing British or American, the concept came in of, why not do both of them? Put both circuits in the amp, and not only allow somebody to do British or American, but what if you could let them switch back and forth or mix and match? So if I'm playing a Telly, I want that Fender low end. If I'm playing a Les Paul, it doesn't come out so good. So what if just in switching, I could make the Les Paul, when I switch to play on it, let's say on a Fenderish sound or American sound, I could use a Marshall low end and have all the rest of it be that nice, smooth, sweet Fender highs. And that's how we arrived at inevitably what we got now. It took years of blowing up pieces and parts and melting transformers and et cetera to get the circuits to work. But as of last August, September timeframe, they've approved 21 of our 21 patent claims were patented. We've been telling people forever there ain't nothing else like it, so maybe now officially there's not. And you see them around and behind us here in the music room we've now got them out and in production.
That's amazing, and congratulations on the patent. I know
Thank
that that's a long process
Oh
to
boy.
get that.
Oh boy.
You know, in your mind as a musician and a guitar player, what makes a great amp?
Another piece of this puzzle is musicians are unique. And when you put this together, and this is a roundabout way of getting to what makes a great amp. A great amp, if you boil it down, all musicians, we got something we envision, a tone, a sound, a feel. And we've got something that we feel here. And so a great amp is something that can get as close as possible to what I envision and what I feel. And musicians know that when you get the right tone or the right vibe going, they just open up. You watch them glaze over, they just stare through you, get out of my way, I just want to play. So a great amp varies in that as a musician, I wrote more than one song. They weren't all in the same key. They didn't all sound alike. I had multiple guitars, and it hits you, why would I have just one amp or an amp that makes one sound? Or nowadays, if you watch somebody like Joe Bonamassa, why does he carry 6 amps on stage and switch back and forth? Because he's playing different stuff. So a great amp, I think, is the one that can get the tone that you envision and you feel. And I would like to be able to do that, or what these amps are all about. Just with what we described so far, you've got 64 combinations with only 4 switches of hand-wired point-to-point aggressively analog circuitry. And that gives me not all the options in the world, but a heck of a lot more than I've got if I'm playing on amp A or B or C, which may be fine in their own right. But if I switch from one song to another, one feel to another, one genre to another, one guitar to another, then having these extra things there to flip some switches and get closer to your sweet spot that allows you just to fly, so to speak, as a guitar player or as a songwriter singer is what makes the thing good or great.
Right. Yeah, I can relate a lot to that. As a drummer, when trying out drum sets,
Yeah.
I will play one and I'll know immediately. I'm like, this is the sound. This is it. The wood, the size, the way that it resonates, the way it feels. It is a very personal thing, right? Like, what is your sound? And to be able to have a versatile amp or a versatile drum set, that the sound can be complex and it can be simple. I know that's really great. In terms of it being fully customizable, what are some of the things that what does that mean really? That it's customizable.
We have one set of patents. So we've got actually one patent that covers 21 patent claims. They just roll from one and give you one number. So on our flagship amp, which are these larger guys you see back here and off to this side,
Yeah.
That's what the patent was based on. And customizable, we customize those to the nth degree. So we start out with a basic British and American circuit, if you can imagine running parallel, but everybody's different. So I may have a great circuit for guy A, maybe not guy B. So I mentioned the 64 combinations. We bring the artists in the studio with us. We sit down with spectrographs. We go subsection by subsection of both the British circuit and the American circuit. And guy A may say, I need 3 more dB at 1800 cycles. So we pull components in the amp and switch out piece by piece by piece to fine tune each frequency on each substage. So when they leave, they have 64 combinations of circuitry that are tuned to what they want. We
Right.
start
Okay.
with a general spot of an American and Brit circuit, but then it's been completely customized to suit their ear. Then we let them pick the cabinets. The cabinets that we have in this room, each one's got a different kind of speaker, and they can be resonanced at 50 hertz, 55, 60 hertz, alnico magnets, ceramic magnets. We can talk this stuff all day long, but explaining tone, if I'm either the musician talking to you or when he's talking to me, it's like explaining the sunset. There just ain't no way to get there. And so you got to look and say, what does this sound like to you? What does this sound like? And the funny thing, or our payoff, when you hit the right spot for a guy and they just go, oh, and they glaze back and they just stare holes through you and they start playing you. Like, get out of my way, leave me alone. Well, you know you got the right spot. So we roll through and let them test speaker combinations. And we choose, do they want American tubes, CL34s or 6L6s? What kind of speaker? How many? What size cabinet? Blues Breakers cabinets in the back, the huge cabinets, the two almost similar to a twin in size, down to a single 12. I've even got some, if my head's out of the way, that the white guitar's in front of, that we designed specifically for people that fly, and those are the size of carry-on luggage. So you can carry your rig with you, throw it in the overhead bin of an airplane. Does it give you the huge sound? No, because it's a size of a you can carry on luggage. But they choose all of that stuff. Then they choose the color, what kind of vinyl, what kind of grill cloth. We've had people want to cover them in skins, hides, alligator skins. So they choose everything about it. We build it for them. Then they select their flight case, even the color of the flight case. And it takes us 6 weeks, 8 weeks to churn all of the cases and everything else out. And they've got a completely customizable rig then at the end of the day.
Oh man, that sounds amazing. Like, you know, even the road case and the covers, that's fantastic. I know, you know, a lot of my guitar player friends would definitely be interested to first of all hear the sound. You know, I'm reminded of a time when I was recording in the studio, and a guitar player I was playing with had like a bunch of pedals, and the recording engineer was like, can you please not use the pedals? Can we just find the right sound on the amp? He's like, I really prefer recording the amp sound than recording your pedal sound. You know, and it was really interesting because when he played the difference, when they found the sound by using the amplifier compared to finding the sound using the pedal board, it was just a world. I mean, it was like night and day.
Yes.
You know, the body of it, the body of the sound.
Yeah, that's important. That's a great point. What does a pedal do? What does a distortion pedal do? A distortion pedal initially was made to emulate the sound of an overdriven tube. It's an emulator. So by all the various gain circuits, we've got another set of circuits in addition to the ones that flip between the British and American that allows you to set what I'll call the gain floor, your starting point. So do I start at a low gain because I'm really clean and I want a country, clean, jazzy sound? Or if I'm a death metal guy and I need a really high gain floor because I really want to overdrive the heck out of something. And then we put those different gain settings in a rotary switch. So how does that help you? Well, if I'm at the studio and I want to record a very clean, full, round part, I can do it by setting my gain floor low. I don't drive my preamp tubes. People familiar with guitar amps, everybody knows there's a preamp knob and a master knob. We're giving you another level on top of that, or below it actually, that says, where does my preamp knob start from? And I can either generate distortion by upping my gain floor and having a lower preamp, or I can have preamp to the moon and a lower floor, Or if I'm in the studio, I need to be Brian May, jack both of them up, wide open. And now you can just sit and hold a note that's distorted, compressed. You press the tubes so hard they go past distortion, even into compression. So now I don't need my distortion pedal or my compression pedal. I'm doing it through the tube. And you're so right that when you hear them done that way, then over and over, I have musicians that when they play on it go, oh, that's what a distortion pedal is supposed to sound like, or that's what it's emulating. And
Right.
so when you get it that way, it's kind of like, I don't want to go back. I'm with your engineer that says, can we just get it out of the amp? It's organic, it's clean, it doesn't have any plastic kind of feel to it. It's just a different vibe.
Yeah. And in actually building the amplifiers, do you have like a team? I think you build them yourselves. Like how does that work? And do you have to gather like buying circuitry boards and all these type of materials? Do you have partners in the country? Do you have to get materials from other places? How does that work?
Yes to all of the above. Boy, that's a broad question. I've got some guys that work with me that are at this age in life, you want to be around good people that are just good people that you want to be around. Paul Hollis has been working with me for several years. Alexis Zuniga is in Nashville, does all our social media stuff. And so, first off, in the big amp, there are no circuit boards. There's no printed circuit boards. There is nothing even resembling machine made or solid state, even a little bit. There are lug boards, if you know the difference. So the mil spec lugs, every circuit, every piece of wire is cut, measured, least shortest path. All the terms you hear on amp, straight through, point to point. Now, I want to plug my guitar in here and have the amp have the sound come out over here to power my speaker with as little in the way as possible. No shortcuts. I've got one plug going into the amp. Even minuscule things, if I have two input jacks, first off, who am I going to share my amp with if I'm a lead guitar player? Nobody. Then if I have an extra plug, some small, almost immeasurable bit of my energy from my guitar is leaking up into that other plug that's not being used. So straight through means nothing in the way. So in the X, we start out, there is no a direct out. If I have a direct out hole, now I've got a Y in my path. So consciously and on purpose, there's none of that in there. They're all built by hand. There's lug boards in the big amps. So the transformers, I partner up with people, Mercury Electronics. They build the trannies for us. They're custom built to our specs by a guy named Patrick Selfridge at Mercury. We do make, and I'll get to this in a second, because here's where we differentiate. If you throw this much stuff, studio time, custom time, the large amps, the handmade ones, can get time consuming, very, very labor intensive, and they're expensive. So we also make now a small amp that is the same patented technology. It is 7 inches by 9 inches by 2 inches. And it fits on your pedal board. And it's 1/10 the price of the larger amp. We do not customize the small one. The customization you speak of is primarily in the large amp, if that helps. So in that regard, then we do have people, we try to build as much as we possibly can in the States and specifically Texas. I'm born and raised here, so as of now, I think we're still able to call our amps proudly made in the USA. There are some components that when you buy a resistor, we source them all through here. We know that there's a possibility they're made somewhere else, but as much as possible, we deal with people pretty much in a 50-mile radius around Austin, except for Patrick, who's in California.
Right. That's incredible, and it's a great point. I think, for our general economy, and supporting local, local makers and people who are doing things, um, it's important to try to source your work within your own community,
Yeah,
as much as possible. One, because it's just, I think the quality will be better because you're able to really communicate on a personal level, as you're building things. But also, it creates a better environment, in general. So that's amazing, and that you're able to do that, and also that everything is, handmade. There's a lot of intention behind the design of it to make the sound pure. I also love the fact that because you broke so many amps in the 70s, you got to really become familiar with the insides, right? And not because necessarily you wanted to, but it's just necessity,
exactly.
right?
Not because
It
I wanted to. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, I needed to make a living the next day. I
Right.
only had
Yeah.
half a muffaletta left from the trip to New Orleans, and we're playing Jackson, Mississippi the next day. I need to
Yeah.
eat, so that amp has
Yeah.
to work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm by no means, Paul Hollis has got a background in electronics. He's
Hmm.
he'll kill me for saying this. He has a doctorate in electrical engineering. He doesn't
Right.
want anybody to know, but he's the guy that can add things up and do the math. I'm trusting my ear and say, I need this and I need this and this needs to happen at this spot. But um, you're correct in that you work with people you work
Hmm.
with people whose interest. I know in talking to some places about the amp, and I know from the conversation, some people, the conversation is, how do you get this tone? What about this? This is great. What do I do with, how are you achieving these harmonics and stuff? Another side of folks in our industry are, what does it cost to make them? Does it make a noise? What is my margin? And how many
Mm.
can we kick out? And we're not the cheapest guys in the world, but we've done everything that we've ever heard of, know about. Our cabinets we make out of solid pine. We try to get them cut contiguously, if you know what I mean, so that
Hmm.
the grains of uh, the grains in the wood run because they're supposed to resonate better. I have to go to North Carolina to find somebody that can make a 14-inch wide pine board to start with, so that you can make cabinets that are deeper than 9 inches. Magic happens as these cabinets get deeper and they resonate. So
Hmm.
even little things, and this goes back to nobody, Tony Moore. And hi, Tony, if you're watching. In London, that was a original member with like Iron Maiden. And he kept saying, you got to make them go to 11. Okay, we'll go for that. They go to 11. Bill that worked with us, there's a lot of jokes and side jokes that went into this, but it's all geared upon, there's a lot of stuff that we can measure in music or in the arts. A lot of it's just mojo, it's or something. We don't know what
Hmm.
it is or how it got there, but if we heard of pine cabinets, we use pine cabinets. If we knew there was a magic to something or a perceived magic, like giving Dumbo the elephant the feather, right? And now he can
Right.
fly. You
Yeah.
wanted to give every cover, every base you possibly could with this. So we tell people all the time, if you find something you think we could do better with this, please tell us. If
Right.
you think everything's great and perfect like it is, tell everybody else. We want everybody else to know. So you're always on the lookout to try to give guys that edge.
Yeah. I think it's such a great point too, that you brought up, of the two camps of people, in terms of what are your margins, how much this costs, right?
Right.
And the other one being, let's build something beautiful that, that is meaningful, and has a lot of, like, thought and history behind it. And and that will last, right? I mean, my gosh, the amount of electronics in my own life that have broken down recently
Yeah.
because it's so
Yeah.
cheap, is has been infuriating. So, hearing about, technology, that is being built right now, analog technology is intentional in creating a great guitar sound is congratulations to you and the company and the team. It's really great hearing the amps when I was in Nashville, but it's also awesome talking with you about a little of the history and kind of the purpose behind the amp itself. So thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
Hey, I've got to grab the little one and show you before you sign off. You see all the big ones, but
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see it.
So this is the whole guy. There's the little one.
Oh, wow.
So that's 7 inches by 9 inches by 2 inches. It has all the same patented technology with the British and American circuit. I got to be careful. I don't want to step on toes with copyrights, so I have to say British and American, but I'm pretty sure everybody knows what the heck those are. But we can do British and American flags, even silly things, because it's 70 something, and you look at this on your pedal board, and how can you see where you are? So I did the big chicken head knobs on a gray background so you can see where they are. And all these little LED lights, they light up blue for American, like blue coats, and red for British, like the red coats. So when you look at the floor, you know where you are all the time. And that is a 100 watt amp, still has 12 AX7s front ends, performs a whole lot like the big one, and it's flyable. Take it anywhere in the world.
Right, that's incredible. Wow, what a cool yeah, that's amazing design. I love the blue and the blue and the red because you could never see, when you're playing. I mean, even as a drummer, you're looking down at a set list and you can't see anything. You're like, so to be able to know where you're at, that's really smart. Well, great. Well, Jack, thank you again for taking the time. I'm going to put the website below. Please check out TextWatt and what they are building. Analog technology in a digital world that is, sounds great and will last you. So thanks again for taking the time to talk to me.
Thanks, Daniel. Good to see you. Stay in touch.
I will,
Stay
for
warm.
sure. Yep, absolutely. There you have it, everyone. Jack Kay from TextWatt, building incredible amps for today's guitarists, custom amps, lots of different designs. Obviously, with our conversation, he puts a lot of thought into what he is building, just in terms of the sound, the quality. It's something that is unique and I think important as being an American-built amplifier and being something that it comes from a guitar player who is interested in how do you connect the sound that is in your heart and in your mind to the sound that's coming out of the amplifier. Again, my name is Daniel Crane. I'm the program director for the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. You've been listening to another Global Industry Spotlight. Please check out our website at cceglobal.org and see what we have going on. Every week we aggregate events, we produce our own events, and have lots of interesting kind of things about business and the creative industries happening. I'm streaming live out of 2112, Chicago's first music, film, and tech incubator. You can check that out at 2112inc.com. Next week, I'm really excited. We're going to be talking with Stephanie Miller, who is the general manager of Fort Knox Studios, and kind of learning about how they have built up the studios, which has rehearsal, monthly rooms, production, full recording studios. I mean, it's a whole ecosystem that we're a part of. So it'll be great to kind of talk to her. I'm wishing everyone a wonderful rest of the week. Take care of yourselves. Let us know if you have any questions for Jack, or if you want to learn more about TextWatt. We'd love to connect you with what he is doing. But that's it. All right. Ciao.